Welcome to the Founders Lounge, where business meets bullshit and everything in between.
We have an awesome guest today, and Kevin Maurer. Kevin, I'll give like the quick elevator pitch that I know of that I wrote last night for you. We've been friends for a long time, and I've been lucky to work with you. Kevin is, as someone who tried to get into being an author myself and being a writer, Kevin, without kissing your ass too much, is an inspiration. He's actually made it happen, and it's his business. It's his life. And that is not an easy gig. I've always said, like, just walk into any generic bookstore, go on Amazon, walk into a Barnes & Noble, and when you see the number of competition just in that little square footage unit alone, you're like, screw this, I'm never doing this shit. Like, there's no way I could keep up. So when I met Kevin, he was coming in off the book No Easy Day. Mm-hmm. And that is one of the ones that you're probably best known for, just because it jumped up the New York Times best-selling and on. We'll let you get into that, but you have a lot of other novels out there to your name, mostly in the military genre. Yeah. And we wanted to bring you in today, man, and just talk about a couple things: what it's like to be in the business of an author, what you're working on, and how you got into it, and all that good stuff.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, I got to start somewhere, man. I'm from St. Louis, so when you come strolling in here with a Boston Red Sox hat, I'll let it go this time.
But you can't say much. I mean, they beat them around like a little league team, so they're not doing well now, though. So I don't have much to say.
I thought you were Cincinnati.
No, hell no. Why?
I don't know. I thought I talked to your brother one time, and we were talking about.
I moved to Boston when I was chasing my now wife, and I wasn't a baseball fan. And you get there, and it's Jonestown.
No, you can't
drink the Kool-Aid, and you go to Fenway. Weirdly enough, Wilmington was Trot Nixon was in right field. So I spent a lot of time watching Trot play, and I don't know. Yeah. And then they got good, and then they won some World Series, and it was, now it's fun.
That was at a good time too, because they started making their comeback in the early 2000s.
So I got in at the end of the misery, and so it's 1999. So I can't. I mean, I can't be this long-suffering Red Sox fan.
I got a quick funny story about Trot. He may hear this, he may not. But when we opened Clean Eats over there on Racine, the first location, we were brand new. Maybe a week after opening, he comes walking in the front door. I knew exactly who it was, but I didn't say anything. I didn't want to be that guy. And I'm like, I was trying to look at Yvonne. I go, look, you know who that is. And I didn't say anything. He ordered his food, and he walked out. Did it again. Didn't say anything. The third time I see him pull in, I'm like, okay, he's getting some now. And I always wore a fitted Cardinals hat, always. And for some reason that day I had it off, and it was under the counter. And I looked at Yvonne. I go, watch this. And so he come in, and I was like, all right, man, you've been in here 3 times in the last 3 weeks. We got to have a little chat. Trot's a big dude. And he looks at me and he's like, well, what's going on, man? What'd I do? And I reached down, I pulled my hat up, and I just flopped it on the counter. And he's like, oh, shit. He said, he's got a little raspy voice. And ever since then, man, every time he would come in, he would sit there for 20, 30 minutes and just bullshit about baseball with me the whole time. And the whole time, Yvonne's working. And she's looking at me like, are you going to work, or are you going to sit there at the counter and talk about baseball
play fanboy? Yeah.
Good guy. So
he still does a lot in Wilmington too.
Yeah, absolutely.
In the region.
Well, in that Netflix documentary, he does his interview at the at New Hanover High School in the dugout, which was cool. It was cool. I have never met him, to be honest.
I've seen him speak at like fundraisers. Yeah. So,
he's a stellar dude. He's really good.
They call him in, but yeah, he seems like a good dude. When I've heard him. Tell us a little bit about, I'll try to keep us on track. By the way, I'm a Pittsburgh Pirates fan, so I have nothing to lend to this damn discussion. And I will be a fan till I die.
All right, we'll just move on.
Yeah, seriously, which every game's like a funeral.
It's a cool hat.
It's great branding. It's a great branding. I have like
a cool stadium.
Yeah. Really, we've been talking about going to see a game. I can't justify supporting Bob Nutting, the owner of the Pittsburgh Pirates, and getting tickets.
I'm a Washington Commanders fan.
My daughter just went and saw them up in D.C.
And, I've been through the Snyder era. Like, I don't care what the
that's a good point, man.
Just go watch them, man.
I agree. I mean, it's a cheap day. Well, it's $25 day out in the park. So, all right. We digress, man. I want to talk to you a little bit. I'm going to ask some, like I said, some pretty softball questions, generic stuff, just to get us going. But I kind of wanted this to be a moment just to sit down with a we say content developer, but someone in the business of authoring. And how the hell did you get into it? Like, because we have a lot of folks we know that have been trying to use content development as a career pathway. How did you get into the point where you're a New York Times bestseller?
That was luck. But I got into it because I was a reporter. And when I got into being a reporter, newspapers existed and still covered the news well. And so I had a chance to learn how to write every day. Newspapers are kind of a neat product in that you start at zero every day. You could build a reputation, but some days you have the best paper you've ever put together. Some days it's garbage, but every day you can redo it and start again. So
I miss the paper.
We've talked about this before. The old man's. I won't give away your idea.
Well, the thing that the paper failed to do is consider it a product. They never thought about the product, right? So the guys that I know that should run papers are business guys that understand that every day you've got to enhance that product, make it something that people want to buy. I think the paper sometimes forgot that you were selling them stories. And the news has changed. It's instantaneous now, and stovetyped. So
street journalism too.
Right? But I got in early 2000. I went to DC. I was in a newsletter, and then from there, I was lucky enough to get a job in Fayetteville, North Carolina, covering the military, and that's what sort of launched me. 3 months after I got that job, I was in Iraq. 5 years later, I'd been to Iraq 12 or 13 times, and had built a pretty good track record of covering, that current conflict. And then I got a book deal with a book I did on. It's kind of funny story. The Army called me about a battle in Afghanistan that had just happened, and I called. They set up some interviews. I had just come back from Afghanistan, and so I set up some interviews, and I wanted to write a book about this battle. Some author had told me, "Hey, you should write a book," and so I thought, it felt like I could never get there.
Yeah,
that it was something somebody anoints you to do. And so I had this kind of idea that, now I've anointed, like somebody thinks I can do this. And so I was looking for a topic, learned about this battle, wanted to write a book, and ran across a guy named Rusty Bradley who wanted to also write a book. And he was the ground force commander for the battle. And so it seemed dumb to try to outright the guy who was there.
Yeah.
So we sort of joined forces. That was the first book I sold. And then after that, I sold a book about a POW in Korea that was held by the Chinese. And that was a book I'd been working on before the Rusty book. It gets a little convoluted in the timeline, but I had no means of selling it and didn't know what I was doing. So I sold that book after I sold the Rusty book. And then from there, I sort of got into this steady pattern of co-writing these books for veterans and their war stories. Before I then fell into my first solo book, which is this book called The Gentleman Bastards, which I spent 10 weeks in Afghanistan.
Yeah, I have it here on the...
And that's what sort of put me in a position to get No Easy Day. But it was really just learning how to write and then just taking the shot. I mean, it's. I don't think it's much different than when the other folks you talk to that start businesses.
Yeah.
Like I decide you're going to do it and then take the risk.
The pathway there is interesting because you kind of talk about print media in particular. I mean, it's dead. It's not dead. I shouldn't say that because I came from that world too. Not to the caliber you were at, but I was in it for several years before I moved to more genre business stories and stuff like that, editing that. But the pathway for me, and we're about the same age, was if you have a degree in writing or whatever it may be, print journalism is your opportunity. And now you can't get far enough away from it. It's crazy. It used to be a gateway, and then it led you to become something that is so far out of reach for so many people. How many folks come up to you and say, hey, I'm trying to be a published author outside of self-publishing. I want a publisher that picks me up. I mean, is it annoying?
No, it's never annoying because I don't think that's fair. Like, it's not fair for me. Everybody has a book, and as soon as they know you've got a book, they all have a book idea. The key is I think people want there to be a secret sauce. They want and I'm sure you get
that's with anything.
In anything.
Right. They just what's the shortcut that you took to get to where you got to go? That's the assumption from the beginning. It's the assumption at all these writing conferences. I mean, my advice is always the same. It's like dig the ditch. Like, writing is not sexy. It's not like the movies. There's no muse. Just sit down and do the work, and it'll take care of itself. And so I'm always cool with people with their book ideas. If you have a book idea and you think you're going to put the work in, I'll connect you with the people that I know. I'm easy to do that, but you're gonna live or die on your own merit and your own work ethic, and that's all. I mean, I can open doors, but you got to get through them and keep going.
Yeah, you actually way back. I don't know if you remember this, but I had met someone through a friend of a friend of a friend who was trying to publish children's books, and I think you actually hooked me up with a connection of a publisher. And the person that I was talking to at the time, it fizzled out. Like there was no follow there. There was just, I just need the connection, and then the doors will open.
Yeah. Also, I'll just tell everybody out there, writing a children's book is probably harder than writing a regular book.
Actually, one of our guests coming in next, he does a lot of stuff, but that's one of the things he's done in addition to riding a Vespa and the Cannonball. And do you? One of the things that I've asked you this, I think when we've had drinks together, and it's trite as shit. But do you have a favorite? Do you have you have a good portfolio, man, of. We're not talking a couple novels. I mean, you've done this for a long time. Is there one that you're just like, man, it's like an axe or something? But like,
no, I say this a lot. I treat all my books like ex-wives.
All right, cool. So I'm not the sexist pig for saying.
They're very fun. I enjoy all my time with them, but once I'm done, I let them go.
You let them go
because I can't read them again. I don't know how you guys are, but if I read them again, I'll edit them again. So I don't read. I got a great friend, Wiley Cash. He's a good dude. He's amazing. I don't know reading his books. He can do a reading and it performs it well, and it's captivating. I can't do it because if I start to read it, I'm going to edit it as I read it, and it just doesn't work. So I love every one of my books. I love the time I spent with them. I judged the book projects by do I want to spend a year or two with you, and if I do, then I do it. I'm kind of embarrassed though because the book I'm finishing up now I've had it for like 5 years because I got sidetracked on things and I've made every mistake I tell people not to make. So it's kind of.
Can you tell us what it's about? Or
so it's about this guy named Jerry Sage, who was an OSS operative during World War II, and he is one of the people that inspired Steve McQueen's character in The Great Escape. And so I'm writing a biography of him.
That's freaking awesome, man.
It's a cool story too. So
one thing I've always been intrigued by, and maybe you can answer this question, is the literal process that it takes. So like for clarity, Yvonne and I have always wanted to write a book about our story because our story is pretty wild about how we got from where we started to where we are now. It's so unorthodox. It's so outside of what status quo usually happens when people do what we did that we've talked many times about writing a book and telling all of these stories. But I always, when I sit there and I think about it, I'm like, okay, I don't even know the first, like, what do? Sit down and make a timeline and then write out different sections of a time? Like, literally, what is the damn process? Because when I think about it, I'm like, it'd be easier for me to hire a ghostwriter and sit there and just tell them.
Yeah.
And let them, kind of take notes and run with it.
Do you want to write a book?
I don't know if I personally want to write a book. I can write pretty well, decently for a knuckle-dragging meathead. I've kind of got away with words, but am I good enough to write a book? I doubt it. No, I don't know.
That's really in your guts, do you think, God, I've got to write this book? Or is it like, I should probably write this book to capture it for my family and my friends, and it would be cool to maybe if it's inspirational and it might help the business, that kind of thought? Or is it like, in my guts of guts, I have to write this thing?
I would say it's probably both. Like, I think it's important to me to share that story. So I would probably say both.
Does it hurt and occupy your mind like when you were launching Clean Eats and growing that?
Say it again.
So like when you were doing Clean Eats initially, and you were driven to grow it and be as successful as you are with this business, right? It became almost an obsession, I'm sure, right? Mm-hmm. Is the thought of writing a book on that level?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay, so that's what that to me. A lot of times, the way I pick book projects is if I would be mad if I saw it on the shelf by somebody else. Is it something I got it? Like it's stuck in my head. I have many ideas like everybody else.
Yeah.
If they keep coming back, I've had an idea now for about 2 years I think I'm going to actually try to put a little effort into now, because I just can't shake it. I keep thinking about it. It'll pop up now and then. If that's where you are now, there's a couple of different ways to attack this. It depends on how much time you have. And it also depends on how driven are you to write a good book, or are you trying to create your story in a package that you can then use to do other things with. That's the crux.
The biggest thing right now is the story's not done. So,
yeah.
Is it ever? I mean, until you're dead?
I don't know if your story ever will be done. You might have to pick a spot and build the narrative backwards.
That makes sense.
There's ways to do it, and there's no tried and true way. Like, you'll hear authors tell you, like, the 101 steps to write a great book.
They're trying to sell shit.
That's fine, and there's method
business too.
Yeah. Then we're kind of, that's why I said Kevin be a great guest, because it does apply. I mean, it's formulaic narrative, and is there really a formula? I mean, there's probably best practices and techniques.
I mean, yeah, I have a like structure I use for most magazine stories. Like, there's ways, there's tools in my toolbox that I can use, but the actual method I use to write a book is probably my method, and maybe isn't yours. You might take parts of it, but when people ask, like, what's the method to do it, I can't tell you. Like, I'm really and a friend of mine, is a really good writer, Sean Assail, who's done some really great magazine work for ESPN, and he's got a couple of great books, Sonny Liston, books on Sonny Liston, which is really good. That's
amazing. Yeah.
And he told me one time, he said, "You're the best bad writer I know." And so what he was saying, though, is that I'm really comfortable writing poorly for a long time until I figure out what it is, and then I can fix it. So I'm very much in that.
I can resonate with that.
Right.
Totally, because most want to edit as they go.
Right.
And they get hung up on the pages and not on the story. 7 drafts usually takes me to do a book. And drafts 3 through 5 are when the book's written. To that point, because we would, like, I don't want to miss that you're not just writing, you're not to discount fiction. That's where I would live. You're writing historically accurate pieces, and that not only are historically accurate, but have to go through, in some cases, rounds and rounds of regulatory, not just from the publisher, but from the highest levels of government. Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes, not every time, but what's that like? I mean, when you're getting literally, you can't go forward with this next chapter unless you're getting government approval to be able to share this information. I mean, I've gotten kind of good at this. Yeah, no, I've gotten kind of good at it. Like, I kind of know the things they don't want to see in there. Some of the reviews are a little more stringent than others. But it's not as hard as you think. And a lot of it now is, I was just at Fort Benning a couple weeks ago, and the War on Terror, the one I covered, is considered history. It's amazing. That's wild. I mean, that's amazing, right? Dude. The war that we all grew up watching, and following. It's terrified history. Of something. They talk about it. They look at you when you talk about things. Like, that sounds like so long ago. Yeah, exactly.
That's in high school when I think the last war I remember studying in high school was Vietnam.
That was our 9/11, and to the degree of. We were engaged in conflict, and our parents talking about we lost a lot of people in Nam. Well, guess what? We have friends that we lost in Iraq and Afghanistan. My kids, and Kev, you've got kids, and we all do. Like, they look back at they're studying September 11th were you alive, Dad? What the hell is well, thank you. But yes, I was more than alive. I was pissing my pants in a corner because I'd never seen anything like that happen to this country. Yeah. And that was really, I know you're probably, and I don't want to offend you. I know you're probably sick of talking about No Easy Day, but that to me, maybe it's just because that's around the time I met you. Like, were you coming off lines at Kandahar? Like, you had something you might have just been wrapping up. I don't know if I've got the portfolio hierarchy right.
No Easy Day was 2012 it came out. So
yeah, so maybe maybe that is how because I think you were doing still dabbling in journalism at the same time I was doing it as like a side thing. But regardless, No Easy Day was like, holy, we started working on your website, and I was reading as I was working on the guy on the author's website, and I'm like, what was that? He's talked about it so many times.
It was.
Do you
weird.
ever get sick of talking about it?
Well, no, no. It's sort of like I was.
It's
lucky.
about the Osama Bin Laden raid, by the way.
Right.
If you haven't read it or heard of it,
I mean, to hate talking about No Easy Day is to hate your career, right? It's like I was lucky to have that opportunity. I was lucky to have met Mark Owen. I was lucky he picked me to write that story with him. I mean, it sold really well. In part because you kill Bin Laden at the end. I mean, it's sort of a great story to get. It wasn't my genius that found a way to tell.
How'd you come up with that ending?
Yeah, I mean, it sort of was like right there. We wrote that book backwards. So chapter, I think chapter 9 is when the Bin Laden raid starts. So we started at chapter 9 and wrote that till the end, and then I went back and rebuilt the narrative around the characters you needed to know, because the idea was as soon as the raid starts, you don't want to take the reader out of it. I mean, I like that book. I like Mark Owen. I think it's an amazing story. I think what they accomplished, that mission alone, is crazy. It's not as innovative as people think, but it still like takes intestinal fortitude that I don't think.
I just watched they just did a new Netflix documentary on that. It was pretty cool.
It's amazing.
I actually learned things about that I didn't know. I didn't know that was part of the whole story behind it. It was really good.
I will say that there was an evening that I was working on some stuff for you, and like that book was still on its hot run, and I'm working on whatever the hell it was, your website or whatever we do as marketing monkeys, and I hear your name on like seeing it, like the book No Easy Day by Mark Owen and Kevin. I was like, holy shit. So obviously to me that was, I was like, I can't imagine being at the level where you're telling history to millions and millions of people, and your book is capturing a part of that forever.
I mean, I never thought of that when you were writing it. I was doing 2 chapters a week. I would go and interview them in the morning, transcribe in the afternoon, and write all night to get the chapters done. Never considered that anybody would read them, and never thought about what you just said ever. Shocked me. I was covering I was still working at the newspaper, and I was covering the New Hanover County Commissioners meeting. It was their,
Isn't that amazing? Yeah.
It was their agenda review. And it was like the meeting before.
I remember
captivating.
And we were working with the county at the time too. Like I remember being like.
And I was at that meeting, after that meeting, and the editor of the book called and said, "Hey man, we made the list, the New York Times bestseller list." And I thought, I didn't even think of that. Cool. Like, what number? Thinking, I don't know. He's like, "We're number 1 on that list." And I had no idea. I was like, cool, man, I'm on deadline. I got to finish the story. And I had to write a story. And I think that was what saved me. Because if I had ever considered that this book was going to do what it did, I don't know if I could have done it.
Too much pressure.
Yeah, you start to second guess, instead of just keeping your head in the story, you start to think about, things that don't matter.
It's funny, relative. We were just having that conversation about this podcast before we walked in the door.
Totally.
Same scenario.
Like,
we were talking about, I've started and stopped this podcast 3 times now. And it was always because I put so much pressure on myself to make it something that was so out there, obtainable, but not having the time and energy and focus to put into it, until finally I connected with Steve, and I'm like, let's just have fun with this damn thing and stop all the pressure. We'll just have fun with it, have conversations. If it goes somewhere, great. If it don't, at least we had fun for a while.
Yeah. I mean, his co-hosts are like Spinal Tap drummers. They just, at any point I could just implode. That was always, so I'm a little scared in this seat. I will say that night that the news broke, you'd already had No Easy Day, and then there was additional coverage as the book grew. And I remember watching your analytics on the website being like, holy shit, this is probably the coolest experience I've ever had to watch on the back end, literally a site in real time, his visitors and all that. But there are other books. And I also always have wondered, more as your friend than anything, like, do you ever feel like you're in the shadows of No Easy Day at times? Or because you've had other New York Times bestsellers, like.
I have, but it's also, it goes back to what we were talking about. Like if I try to get every book is going to get to No Easy Day.
Yeah.
It's just not going to. Even the one I did with Mark Owen after that, No Hero. I mean, it didn't get there. It's just,
I remember when you were working on it. Yeah.
I don't think I ever talked about this publicly. So, because No Easy Day sold more books in 2012 nonfiction than anybody else all year, and it came out in September.
That's crazy.
Okay,
so you had fourth quarter.
This thing, like you're never going to get there again. It knocked 50 Shades of Grey off the list.
I remember that
for on the USA Today list.
That's wild.
I mean, these are and that book is a monster. I'm never going to get back there. Like I can't gin up and what you've got to remember too is that I was just the vessel to tell the story. I didn't create the story. I didn't come up with the characters. I didn't come up with the end. I just was lucky enough to get an opportunity to tell that story. So I try not to compare. I just am happy I got a chance to hold on. It's kind of cool that my name is on the cover.
Yeah.
That's about it. Like I try not to think too much beyond that.
So when you going back a little bit, like I've talked to you about this, I've seen you present before. A lot of people ask, kind of full circle, it's intimidating to make authoring a business or whatever, so people will ask, what's the big thing at the beginning of a book? And you've talked about, I need to keep them on that page. It's almost like we talk about, you got about 3 seconds if you're lucky digitally. If they're not seeing it, they're scrolling, they're whatever. Mm-hmm. Talk to us a little bit about like, what's your process or getting them to say, I'm going to flip through the rest of this book.
It's getting harder, to be honest.
Because the attention spans are, I can't imagine it on the written page.
Could go back to Sean. Sean has a line too about, make them turn the page. So for me though, all the Kindle, when you get a Kindle sample, it's about the first 25 pages. So those first 25 pages need to be, you got to have something in there that makes people want to either buy the book. So Mitch Weiss and I call it the Barnes & Noble chapter. So the first chapter of the book I try to write as tight and as exciting as I can, that you can stand in Barnes & Noble and read it and then be like, oh hell, I got to buy this thing.
It's a freaking great analogy.
It's the Barnes & Noble chapter. So the Sage book opens up with him running for a wood line while a German guard is shooting a machine gun at him. And he knows that if he can get to the wood line, he's got a chance to escape. I hope at that point you're like, damn, let's see how he got to this prison.
You made it.
Yeah.
We'll go from there. So this one opens, Damn Lucky opens with him expecting a bomber on and knowing that it's the first mission he's ever had to go on with a new crew, and he doesn't know if he'll make it back. So then you're like, okay, well, let's see if he makes it back. I mean, some of it's a trick of the mind because you
kind of know.
Read anything about the back of the book, you realize I interviewed him, so it's like, oh, well, he's going to make it back. But at some point, you get wrapped in it. Hopefully, that I've had people tell me like, I thought he was going to die, and I thought, well, good, but I interviewed him, so he didn't.
When you're going through that process, is there a different tactic that you have to take thinking about? Because now you have like Audible books, people listen.
That's
to
a
them
great
now.
point. Yeah.
So is there a different tactic that you're thinking about when you're doing that? Like versus me, I can't do Audible unless I'm in my truck. And then even at times my attention span is about,
you're like a visual learner. It's hard. Yeah.
So, and it's got to be very captivating for me to sit down and read a book. But if I do, I've got to have it in my hand. So is there a different tactic that you take in that thought process versus?
No, I just try to write it like a novel. I try to write it like, I try to structure them as close as I can to a movie. So my hope is short chapters, visceral, try to put you in the scene, give you just what you need, and get you to move into the next scene. I'm not a historian. None of the books I write are maybe based on historical events, but I am not a historian. I don't historians are professionals that do a service around finding information and interpreting it and providing it for the masses. And I don't. I'm here to just tell a story. And so that's the way I go about it. I'm just trying to entertain you. If you get informed by it, cool. Not trying to inform you, just trying to entertain you. And so when I found Lucky, The guy flew 25 missions over Germany. He talked about the one mission over Bremen that he never will forget. For the while there, the book was structured around just that mission. From the beginning of the book to the end, it was that one mission. To Lucky's credit, he's like, that's not going to work. And I thought, watch this. And then it didn't work. So it doesn't, it's not like that, but it does follow him for the whole 25 missions. So
you're an investigator. I've always, then don't get mad if this isn't how you look. I always look at you as an investigative journalist with an author talent.
Yeah, I know really good investigative reporters who are good at. So I'm more of a. I don't consider myself. I can do investigations. I don't consider myself an investigative reporter. The investigative reporters that are the good ones are the guys that get excited when they get 1,000 page, a box of 1,000 pages of documents that they get to root through with their database. I'd rather die. I like to.
In the face.
Yeah, that sounds like a nightmare.
I like to work with those guys though, because they usually find something cool, and then I like to go track down the people and get them to talk to us. So in that sense, I can do that.
Yeah, that's where I put you.
But I'm not. There are some really good investigative reporters who could do that work. I'm more of a news feature magazine writer, I think, is where I.
And you've done. We'd be remiss not to bring up that you've worked in comics.
Oh yeah, no,
I love
that
this
was fun.
shit, man. I got him to sign one of my kids' Thor.
That was a fun one.
You just talk briefly about you with Marvel and that whole Marvel verse. You started with, was it Thor or Punisher? Or?
So one of the first issues I ever wrote was this Valiant. You guys remember Valiant Comics? Ninjak, which was this weird 90s character who was a British ninja. It was like, what if James Bond was a ninja? Cool character. I did a story about him. At Valiant at the time, I was talking to them. They needed villains. They had a bunch of cool heroes. They needed villains. So I came up with a villain, and we did it in one Ninjak issue. And then I got in with Marvel, and I wrote. There was 2 events that I wrote for. One was an event where good guys turned into bad guys, and so I just made Thor a frat boy and made a reporter follow him around.
Yeah,
and that was cool.
He was like a drunk.
Yeah, he was a drunk. He's peeing off of things. It was cool. And what made that one fun was it connected. It was like it was a connective tissue between the event. There was like an event going on, and something happened in issue, 3, and then issue 4. You pick it up, and so that acted as a bridge to get them from place to place. So that was cool. And then I did another one where they had multiple universes, and so you could make up any universe you want. And I picked 2 of my favorite characters that I begged Marvel to let me write a whole series about. Misty Knight, who was the ex-cop with the robot arm.
Sounds like a stripper.
Yeah. She's great. She's got this great afro. She looks like a 70s blaxploitation character. I love. She's awesome, and she has this. She had this guy named Paladin, who was like a mercenary who dressed in purple. Sounds stupid. They can draw them kind of cool, and I did them as like Crockett and Tubbs in Miami Vice.
That's
and
awesome.
They're chasing this gold coin. I don't know. It's a little weird one, but that was the 2, and then I did 2 issues of the Punisher.
Yeah, that's right, because that was the one. I remember the Thor. I remember the Punisher because my son is a huge Marvel guy. Like most teenage kids at the time, he was younger, and I remember he thought it was just so cool that I had a friend who'd written for those particular issues. And
the Punisher issues were cool because I was those 2 issues were an attempt to explain why every SF guy, SEAL, and cop has a Punisher patch. And so the story was built around the Punisher saves an SF team who gets captured by a cartel leader, and that's why they wear the Punisher patch.
I have friends that were in special forces, and I never asked them.
Never knew
like,
that.
That's my. I never knew either. I was like, what's the correlation?
Because the Punisher's cool, and
he's a badass, but it is. It's a
he's vengeance personified, and so
yeah.
That's why they like him for real. But I was like, let's come up with a reason for why they do it. And so the story opens with the Punisher, and he's been captured. I forgot how he got captured. I picked this up from another writer, and then you follow him, and he escapes, and he helps the SF guy escape. And at the end of the second issue, the SF guy is in Afghanistan with his team again, and he's got the Punisher patch.
That's okay. So all right,
that's pretty cool. I never knew that.
Well, I think Do you have any other thing? Like, do you have anything coming out? Because usually at the end of the show, Wes, how can people find you? Where?
No, I'm working on the Sage book. I don't have any more comics. There's some really good comics writers, but it's their medium. They did the work and effort to do the work. I dabbled in it because I thought it was fun and I thought it was an interesting way to tell a story. I haven't had much success. I did help a guy, Robert Venditti. His uncle jumped into D-Day, and he asked me to help him with a graphic novel that we did called 6 Days that turned out to be pretty good. The art in it is amazing. But yeah, I'd like to get back to comics. Comics is a fun medium because the one thing that people forget about comics that I had to learn, and I learned this from Robert, is you've got to think about the package. So when you write the story, if your big reveal is on page 2, the reader's going to know when they open the book. So you have to put the big reveal on page 3. So when you write the story, you've got to think about, all right, what's the punchy part of this scene and where do I put it? Like you just can't.
And it's short form. I mean, it's a graphic
cool.
novel. And if people want to go ahead and get Kevin Maurer novels, or you have any place you want to send them to, or
anywhere you can get them. I'm just happy you're reading them.
Any interest in getting in like writing about the last 8 years of bullshit that we've been watching on the news?
I mean, I dabble in it. I've got a story coming out at the Atlantic magazine. I wrote about the best Ranger competition, and that touches on some of this. No, not really. I mean, that's not really my beat.
You try to stay like military style, where it's the political's there, but it's not up front, and it's just we're here to do our thing.
I've always liked the people of a story. So for me, the policy, the politics of it is not as important as the people. I did some work with the Assembly magazine, and I recently wrote a story about a GOP operative by the name of Jonathan Phelps, who, regardless if you like his politics or not, he's a really interesting guy that has a really strong point of view. And the attempt of that story was to cut through some of the just straight partisanship. Yeah. Even though he's a very partisan guy, he's picked his side and he does a very good job of advocating for his side. But to try to get through to the art of that and the motivation behind it.
We need more of that.
And maybe we do. I just don't do. Is there a market for it? Like I was just talking to a friend of mine who I knew from Afghanistan, who's I think about to he's adjacent to the administration now, and we were talking about that nuance. Like, is there a place for nuance?
Do people want to hear another side,
or is there a place where you can say, I agree with parts of this and parts of this, but not fully either way. I think we've gotten too close to this binary. You're the 0 or you're 1. And I think it's hurting us. And I think it goes back to our initial conversation around the death of newspapers. The beauty of the newspaper was when you picked it up, you might run across a story you otherwise wouldn't read. You don't have that anymore. If you think about it now, you get most of your news from either social media or Apple News. And Apple News is great but it will help. The algorithm will help you, stovepipe what you want to read, and you don't read anything else. So you have to
curated content.
Yeah. So,
with real time events. It's creepy.
It's funny. I got home from the office yesterday, and I got home before anybody else, and I was like, man, it's been 2 months since I turned news on. I just disconnected from it, stopped paying attention to it. The one day that I decided to turn
the Musk
is the Trump Musk thing going on in the news, and I'm like, I'm good, and I just turned it off.
Go back to the office and deal with that with internal teams. I mean, it is unbelievable. And regardless, to your point, like, it's that noise that keeps us away from when you do need to be informed. It used to be journalism. Listen, there's probably always skewed journalism. That was, there always has been, but it was just the facts. And now, or you could disagree with that.
I don't know if it's ever been just the facts.
Well, the show's over, so you don't have time to talk about it.
Oh.
I'm joking, man.
Oh, okay.
Dude, I don't want to hear your opinion.
No, I mean,
we're playing.
I think the reality is that it's always been funneled to the reporter.
Yeah.
When I write a story, I'm going to pick the parts I think you need to read. So it's already getting edited.
It's editorialized.
So
yeah, it's biased. Yeah.
Depending on where I land, you can argue I've been called up on both sides. So that means I'm doing something right, but you're still getting it curated through me. So either you trust me or you don't. And that's I think, the crux of what we are too.
Where there's a loss of trust. Without a doubt.
There's a loss of trust. And I think some of that is manufactured. And I think some of it is through practice. And I don't think you can't blame either side. You can blame both sides as saying, they've manufactured a distrust around media. And that bedrock foundational idea that was part of our American political system is gone, which is why we're somewhat unmoored right now.
I agree.
And I'm on a soapbox, and I'm not sure this is the venue for the soapbox.
No, this is good stuff, man. This is, we talk about business. What is it's business, bullshit, and everything in between, man. And this has been great. And we got a little bit off track in terms of the business side. That's quite frankly a hell of a lot more interesting.
I mean, the business though is, at the end of the day, I'm trying to sell books.
Yeah,
right? So
exactly.
there is a business to it, and I have to, respect the market. I think just like any business owner, I've got to be conscious of what it is that people want and the way they want to read it. So if you think about, books are going to get thinner. I think they're going to get sharper. But they're selling more books now than before. I think all entertainment and media right now is suffering from the same thing, which is they're not positive what it is the readers and viewers want. I know Hollywood is imploding after COVID and the strikes, trying to figure out what they're going to do. But I think we're going to be fine. I'm not all that doomsday. Like I think Americans are resilient, and I think we'll find a way. And I think, it's going to take some growing pains. We're going to have to make some hard choices here, but we'll get there.
Appreciate you, brother, man. Thank you for coming in, giving us a little bit of your mind and time. Good stuff, guys. Kevin Maurer, Google Kevin Maurer. He's on a lot of different platforms to buy books and all that. You sure you don't want to push anything else? You publish your website, or it's just shameless plug time.
It's not a shameless plug. I'm embarrassed that it took me so long to write the next one from the Damn Lucky thing. So I'm just getting back to work on that. Maybe I'll come back when the book comes out. And we can read it.
There's actually another person that we're going to try to bring in from Marvel, who's an illustrator, and I'm going to see if I can pull this off through a friend of a friend. But to your point, they get in the graphical side of writing. Thought it might be cool because it's all content production, and it's all still having a plan to hit that, so people actually want to look and read it. So appreciate you, man. Thank you, guys.
All right, guys. Till next time.